Yeah, probably a little bit hotter than it needs to be. Can we bring it down a bit? All right. Hello. It should stop blinking. Yeah, we're good. Everything can come down. Because yeah. There we go. Yes. Wow, it's 7 o'clock. Are we online? Are we rolling? Are we live? Okay. We are online. So welcome to everyone who's here. Welcome to everyone who's online. I didn't tell you the page yet because I want you to learn the tune first, so sing along. Next half is we're on page 7. Save to page 7 and number 2. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good Shabbos, almost, I guess. Yedid Nefesh, heart's delight, source of mercy, draw your servant into your arms. It's a love song to God. The full poem. This is the first stanza of a 4-verse poem written by oh gosh, I don't remember who, but the mystics of Tzfat. The first stanza starts with the letter Yud, the second with the letter Hey, the third one with the letter Vav, and the last one with the letter Hey. It's the name of God spelled out in the 4 stanzas. Same tune. Yedid nefesh avarachaman, again. Yedid nefesh avarachaman, mishochav decha, eretz onecha, עבדך רצונך. Okay, no excuse, now sing along. ידיד נפש הרחמן, ידיד נפש הרחמן, משוך עבדך אל רצונך, משוך עבדך יננני נאי אל רצונך, ירוץ עבדך כמו ים, ישתחווה אל מול יננני נאי אל מול עדרך, ירוץ עבדך כמו ים, ישתחווה אל מול יננני נאי אל מול עדרך. ידיד נפש הרחמן, ידיד נפש הרחמן, משוך עבדך אל רצונך, משוך עבדך יננני נאי אל רצונך. How many of you have filled out the adult ed questionnaire survey online? Oh, good. Bunch of you. You know there's an adult ed survey online? Okay. Go to our website, go to adult ed. There's a link there. People at home can do that too, because one of the options is, do you want remote classes? Because there's lots of stuff I could teach. I don't want to know what people want to learn. And something that actually somewhat surprised me but delighted me is that one of the things that so far is, I can tell you what the two things that are trending are right now. One of them actually is Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. So that surprised me and delighted me. So I guess there's one of those coming up sometime in the next year or two, and I figure out what to teach and when. The other thing was Jewish social singing. So we are going to have, next Saturday. Next Saturday afternoon, we're going to have Sam Teigel back here, who's our high holiday cantor. He's going to come back, and he's going to do a workshop on singing. He's going to teach us some tunes that he composed himself. And then 2 weeks later is Shabbat Shirah, when the Israelites crossed the Red Sea and sing the great song of the crossing of the sea. So we're going to, that afternoon, we're also going to get together and sing. So with that in mind, I mean, I don't know if those of you who raised your hands actually said that that's one of the things you're really interested in, but we're going to do some singing here this evening for Kabbalat Shabbat, and bring Shabbat in with song. You know, there's something that happens when people make music together. There's something that happens in the nervous system, in the brain, the kinds of connections, of loving connection that develops between people who make music together. So don't think that it's about whether you sing well. That actually has not as much to do with it, right? And if you do sing well, then you know what I find as a musician. You know, I made a choice to not try and make my living as a musician, to make my living as a rabbi. There are lots of reasons for that, you know, but I make music with a lot of people who are a whole lot better than I am. I find that what makes a musical experience satisfying to me has to do with getting better. If I'm just doing something I know how to do and it's easy, it can be very satisfying. But if I'm getting just a little better, learning a little bit, like I touch that sense of improvement, that's when things come into life. Page 9. And as the heat comes on, my strings respond and go each in their own way. Only mostly they seem to be going up, but just by different quantities. There we go. Yeah, page 9. Yismechu shamayim. Let the heavens be glad and the earth rejoice. Yismechu hashamayim. Yismechu hashamayim. Yismechu hashamayim. V'tagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim. Yismechu hashamayim. ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ. עיר המים, עיר המים, עיר המים ומלואו. עיר המים, עיר המים, עיר המים ומלואו. עיר המים, עיר המים, עיר המים ומלואו. עיר המים, ירמיים ומלואו. ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ. ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ. On the bottom of page 10, Or Zarua, light is sown for the righteous. You see the bottom of this Psalm 97 excerpt, verses 10. It's a little bit indented there, at least in my version. My version, it's on page 11. I don't know. It starts with Adonai is sovereign, and then there's a little part that's indented. O you who love Adonai, hate evil. God guards the lives of God's loyal ones, saving them from the hand of the wicked. Light is sown from the righteous, radiance for the upright. O you righteous, rejoice in Adonai and acclaim God's holy name. The last paragraph above that in the Hebrew. Or zaru ala tzadik velit shelev simecha. Or zaru ala tzadik uleish shelev simecha. שמחו צדיקים באדוני והודו לזכר קודשו. שמחו צדיקים באדוני והודו לזכר קודשו. אור זרו על הצדיק ולישרי לב שמחה. אור זרו על הצדיק ולישרי לב שמחה. שמחו צדיקים לאדוני והודו לזכר קודשו. שמחו צדיקים באדוני והודו לזכר קודשו. אור זרו על הצדיק ולישרי לב שמחה. אור זרו על הצדיק ולישרי לב שמחה. Page 12. Yeah. Yes. The beginning of this, the first two lines. Sing praise to Adonai with the kinol. We don't know what the kinol was. It was clearly a musical instrument. With the lyre, they say, and the melodious song. Zamru l'Adonai bechino vekol zimra. Zamru l'Adonai bechino בכינו וכל זמרה. You know, this is a really good one to hum on. You could just hum any note that you hear on the guitar. Or any other note that seems right. It's right if it sounds right. So, Zamul Adonai Bechino Bechino Vekol Zimra 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 Zamul Adonai Bechino Bechino Vekol Zimra. Page 13, the bottom of Psalm 99. Exalt Adonai our God and bow towards God's holy hill. Whatever exactly that means. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu veishtachavu el har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu veishtachavu el har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu veishtachavu el har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu veishtachavu el har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu veishtachavu el har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu veishtachavu el har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu veishtachavu el har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu veishtachavu el har kodsho. Page 14. Yeah. So, this is a tune that I've been doing the last few months. I learned from my friend David Seidenberg. It goes like this. This is the tune. So just get the 9 and I tune. If you can't map on the words, it's a lot of words because it takes us through the whole song. But I'm relying on you to help me with the tune. Again. Now this time it goes different. Yanai nai nai nai. Yanai nai nai. That has an echo. Yanai nai nai nai. So again. Yanai nai nai. Yanai nai 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 nai. Yanai nai 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 nai. Yanai nai 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 nai. Yanai nai nai nai. Yanai nai nai. Yanai nai nai nai. One more time. Yanai nai nai. Yanai nai 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 nai. Yanai nai nai. Yanai nai nai nai. Yanai nai nai. Yanai nai nai nai. Yanai nai nai nai. Yanai nai nai. Tira nai nai nai. Second part. Yanai nai nai. Yanai nai nai. Yanai nai 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 nai. Yanai nai 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 nai. Yanai nai nai nai. Yanai nai 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 nai. Again. Yanai nai 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 nai. Yanai nai 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 nai. Yanai nai 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 nai. Yanai nai nai nai. Yanai nai nai with the words. Abul Adonai B'nei Elim. Abul Adonai Kavod Ba'oz. Abul Adonai Kevod Shemo. Ishtachavu L'Adonai Behadrat Kodesh. Behadrat Kodesh. Kol Adonai Al Hamayim El HaKavod Hirim Adonai Hamayim Rabim Al Mayim Rabim Kol Adonai Ba'koach Kol Adonai Be'adar Kol Adonai Shover Arazim V'Shaper Adonai Et Arzei Halvanon Et Arzei Halvanon Vayagar Kidem Yemo Eger Levanon V'Sirion Kemo ven Re'emim Kemo ven Re'emim. Next page. Kol Adonai Chotzev Lavodesh. Kol Adonai Yachil Midbar. Yachil Adonai Midbar Kadesh. Kol Adonai Yecholel Hayalot. Yecholel Hayalot. Vaya'ech Esot Ye'arot Uvehechalo Kulo Merkavod Kulo Merkavod Adonai Lamabul Yashav Yeshev Adonai Melech Le'olam Adonai Oz Le'amo Yiten Adonai Yevarech Et Amo V'Shalom Et Amo V'Shalom Yana nai 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 Yana nai 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 Yana lai 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 Ya lai 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 Ya lai 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 lai. And we get to Lechadodi on page 16. You feel a little bit more ready to welcome the Shabbat bride. Okay, so now, here's a tune. You might not know this. I don't know if I've done it before. It's one of my favorite tunes for Lechadodi. It goes really well with the energy that we just set up. So it goes like this, and it's super easy. Lechadodi likrat kala yaradai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala yaradai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamo וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה לך דודי לקראת כלה ירדה 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 בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה ירדה 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 בני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי היא מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, ירדיי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, ירדיי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. Okay, verse 5 on the second page, התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שתדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. Please rise, page 17, the last verse of Lecha Dodi. We're going to turn and face the opening, the doors. At home, you can do that wherever your door is. And welcome Shabbat in. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני ים סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. Have a seat. Kabbalat Shabbat was created by mystics. You know, Kabbalat Shabbat is a relatively late service, which means in Jewish time, is invented in the 16th century. That's late in our terms. I mean, for a whole service, right? There are prayers here and there that are more recent than that. But to actually say, we're going to do this whole service and, you know, we're going to do these psalms, we'll do this mystic song, Lecha Dodi. And the fact is that I think the magic spell works when you do it right. Right? It actually brings, it actually changes the energy. It actually changes how you feel inside. It actually changes it brings in Shabbat in a way that just, you know, doesn't happen when you don't do it. Lighting candles, another kind of magic, if you do it right. And so it's Shabbat. Let's take this down one, because my voice isn't going to sing Tzedika Tamar in that key. On page, what's the page is it 16, 17, 18, right? On page 18, Psalm 92 is a song, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat. You know, there's an older mystic, Tolat Yaakov is his book. Blanking on his name right now. He was, I think, earlier, like 12th century, maybe 14th. He was in Turkey, but he said, I talked about this like probably 6 or 7 months ago. Mizmor Shir, the word zemer. We already sang before, Zamru l'Adonai bekinor v'kol zimra. So there's that word zemer, zamru, which is to sing. But it turns out that it also means an entirely different word. Hebrew has a few words like this where you have 3-letter roots which have a few unrelated meanings. The other meaning it has is to prune, like you know, with pruning shears. And the mystic said, what is it we're pruning when we're saying psalms? What is it the psalms prune? Psalms prune the impediments between us and God. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, מזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בחינו, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. Every once in a while I do this that keeps on going. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך רנן, מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני מאוד, עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. And where it ends, צדיק אתה מה יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי אדוני צורי צורי ולא עוולה תבוא. All right, so we can take a little break from singing. Sometimes we could go, there's an invitation here, sometimes we could just go on into the service proper here. This is another good place for the Torah. Oh, there's like extra miking here. So I wanted to talk about the Torah portion a little bit here. I usually do it later. So the Torah portion today is Shemot. We have completed the book of Genesis, and we are on to the book of Exodus. And the book of Exodus is it's a very different energy, right? Because the book of Genesis has two parts, right? The first part of the book of Genesis is about the creation of the whole world. And then by the third week, by the third parsha, you're into Lech Lecha, and you're into the story of this family, right? Of family of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Joseph, right? And the book of Deuteronomy begins with, a new Pharaoh rose who did not know Joseph and didn't give Joseph's family the special dispensations that the rest, that the rest of Egypt didn't get, in terms of being able to be fed without having to, the rest of Egypt had to mortgage themselves. They remember those 7 years of famine, right? Joseph actually set it up so that, they ran out of food, so they sold their livestock for food, and then they sold their land for food, and they ended up selling themselves and their labor for food. And the result was that Pharaoh owned all of Egypt, except for, it turns out, the children of Joseph, the family of Joseph. And I was reading some scholarly editions, some scholarly articles recently on this parsha that said, actually, they weren't made slaves so much as they just had to do the same kind of service to Pharaoh that the rest of Egypt had to do. They'd lost their special status. But that's not how our mythology sees what's going on. That might be some layer of the story, right? But that's not how at all how our mythology understands what happened in Egypt, right? They were slaves to Pharaoh, right? And what's interesting is, like, how does the they that we're talking about, slaves of Pharaoh, how did they connect to Joseph, right? Because when Joseph came down to Egypt, and this was set up, by the way, throughout the book of Genesis, going back to the story of Abraham, in that third parsha, the third portion of the Bible, Lech Lecha, it's Genesis 15, chapter 15, verse 13. God said to Abram, there's not Abraham, he's about to become Abraham in the story. Know well that your offspring shall be strangers in a land not theirs, and they shall be enslaved and oppressed 400 years. But I will execute judgment on the nation they shall serve, and in the end they shall go free with great wealth. This is a prophecy that's already been there. And I don't know if you remember from just a few weeks ago when, or even just last week, when Joseph's brothers are really worried. Like that he's, like, after Jacob dies, they come back to him and say, like, you know, like, your father said not to be bad to us. And he said, don't worry about it. There's a reason that God brought you here, basically. Right? So Genesis does set up them coming down to Egypt. But again, they come down to Egypt as a family, each with their family, right? But they already don't know the names of, we're told the names of the children of like the lineages, but we're not told stories about many of the children of Joseph and his brothers. Like we talked about Ephraim and Manasseh last week. What we know about Ephraim and Manasseh as people is that you know, they got adopted by their grandfather, and people shall be blessed through their names. We don't actually have any stories of Ephraim and Manasseh. We have some stories of about Judah's daughter-in-law, right? You know, but we don't have much about that generation. But at some point we end up by the time we're halfway into the first chapter of Exodus, it's clear that we're talking not about a family but about a nation, right? Actually, even verse 7, right? Joseph died, verse 6. Joseph died and all his brothers and all that generation, but the Israelites were fertile and prolific. They multiplied and increased very greatly, so that the land was filled with them. Right? And in fact, if you look at the language, the Hebrew words, the words are paru v'yishretzu v'yirbu. Especially yishretzu is like they swarmed, like has the image of like swarming things that aren't kosher. That word sheretz. And then a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph, and he said to his people, look, the Israelite people are much too numerous for us. Let us deal shrewdly with them, so that they may not increase. Otherwise, in the event of war, they may join the enemies in fighting against us and rise up from the ground. So they set taskmasters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built garrison cities for Pharaoh, Pithom, and Ramses. Right? And the more they were oppressed, the more they increased and spread out, so that Egypt came to dread the Israelites. So what's Egypt's solution? To continue to oppress them, right? What else is gone? We don't have individuals' names anymore. But what else was ubiquitous in the stories of Genesis that we don't have here at all with this family? What are you going to say?
God doesn't talk to them directly.
Yeah, there's no God. God isn't there at all, right? At least for a while, for a few verses, right? Suddenly you have this entire nation, they've been through enough generations that they can multiply and become like a power that's obviously no longer a few dozen or 70 souls as they came down, but they're a power that now has some sort of it's causing some sort of geopolitical risk to Pharaoh's nation, right? And they don't seem to have a relationship to God at this point. And in the end of chapter 2, it says, the Israelites were groaning under the bondage and cried out. Doesn't say to whom. It just says they cried out. And their cry for help from the bondage rose up to God. God heard their moaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And God looked upon the Israelites, and God took notice of them. And if you look at the Hebrew words, there are those 4 words that that God heard, remembered, and looked, and took notice. And actually, they took notice in Hebrew, v'yada, dat. He knew. He was aware of their presence, right? There's also 4 words in the Hebrew about they crying and crying out. There are 4 synonyms for the crying out. That they deepen in anguish, and then God's noticing deepens in awareness until it ends up with that v'yada, dat, knowledge. The mystics, we keep on coming back, mystics said that in the time of the exile, the very divine faculty of dat, of spiritual awareness, was in exile from the world. God had withdrawn from the world to the extent that there was a lack of spiritual awareness in the world, right? And here we get God coming back into the story, and this is the first spark, the first beginning towards the redemption which we're going to have at the sea, right? And I'm wondering, where did that redemption come from? Right? One of them is from the people starting to notice, the people crying out. Was it the people's action of calling out to God and that brings God into the world? There is a commentator who said, yes, but it was actually God who made them realize what they were lacking. They weren't just, the proverbial boiling frog, right, who didn't notice that things were getting bad. God made them notice because God wanted them to be redeemed, right? One way or another, it's interesting that the way they tell that. So you ever notice when things are going well, somebody asks you, how you doing? You're like, great. You always have a long list of things that are going great. And when things are going badly, you have a long list of things that are going badly. Right? Not only did I stub my toe, but, that got messed up and my kid's sick and, right, God forbid, lost a job, somebody is deathly ill, and I stubbed my toe and spilled my coffee, right? Right? It's just like everything is bad. And when things are good, you can't say, thank God I met someone wonderful, or, I got a new job, or something like that. They tend to pile up on each other either way. There tends to be some sort of a feedback. And here, what we seem to have is the sound of the beginning of that feedback loop starting to work in the positive direction. It's the beginning of possibility of redemption, and notice that it begins with noticing. The people noticing that this is not okay, God noticing the people. And there's another place in this parsha where noticing is key. I didn't put a tab here, but there's lots goes on. So this parsha takes us all the way from, that was the first 2 chapters, right? So all the way from the people becoming enslaved to all the way to the story of Moses, and Moses in being put on in his teva, in his what's the word usually? In the basket, right? The word teva, it's the same word as Noah's Ark. So I wanted to say ark, and I'm like, no, we don't say that in English. It's the same word, interestingly, right? And killing the overseer. We all saw, whichever the movies that you have running in your head right now, right? And he runs away, and he marries Zipporah, and he sees, what does he encounter? The burning bush, right? So the story goes a little bit far beyond that. But in the burning bush, right, has an interesting thing. First, he notices the burning bush and says, let me notice how is it that this bush is burning and not burning up? And once he turns aside he's noticed the bush, he turns aside, then God calls out to him, right? So you'd think it starts with him noticing. Though like in the previous thing, it started with God putting the burning bush there for him to notice, right? But think about that for our lives. There is something, there are always things for us to notice, right? The question is, do we notice them? And do we notice that there's something interesting that's calling on us? How can we get that cycle that's going in the bad direction to somehow reverse so that it's going in the good direction, right? And it begins with that awareness. It begins with the noticing, and it's not necessarily noticing your blessings, right? People talk about, man, notice your blessings, right? Yeah, possibly, but it's also notice your need, notice that something's not right, or just simply notice with curiosity that something's different and unexpected. Because where does all of this happen? This burning bush happens in the wilderness. We usually use the word desert, midbar. It's an interesting word in Hebrew, davar. That three-letter root in davar means, and these are related, it means thing, object, and also means word. I mentioned last week that there aren't 10 commandments, there are 10 dibrot, 10 utterances. It's the same word, davar. And here the desert is the midbar. It's the wilderness is where you go to hear the word of God. And what is the wilderness? The wilderness is the place that there's no structure, right? Where there's no governmental structure. And this is where they're going to go back to get their structure, to get the 10 dibrot, the 10 utterances, right? The things that we need to notice aren't coming from our analysis of the situation. Analysis of the situation, that aspect of awareness is important, but the spiritual awareness also is dependent on us going into the place where we don't know what's going on. That curiosity of open possibility, that's where the awareness that starts to shift things comes from. And so the path to awareness begins, right, in this delicate balance, right? Because it happens in the desert, it happens in the place where there's no structure, right? But it's not a passive waiting for redemption. The people cried out, right? But it's also, at the same time, it's not a structured plan. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. This is how it's going to work out. It comes from it starts with that faculty of da'at, of awareness, and noticing it. It comes through the wilderness, and this openness, this noticing. So the project is, in this parsha, the project is da'at, is awareness and noticing. See if that resonates somewhere in your own life. I'd love to hear about it. And with that, we'll go back to our prayers. And notice that the section that we're going to start our prayers when we come back in is the section that's called the Shema and its blessings, right? And the first blessing is a blessing for creation. The second one is God's love and revelation. There's a Shema, and it's heading towards Mi Kamocha, who is like you, the song of the sea. It's heading towards redemption. And in the evening, it also ends up with Hashkivenu, with the prayer for protection. But just to notice that Mi Kamocha, that the process towards redemption. Maybe we'll get to more detail about that creation, revelation, redemption arc some other time. So please rise in body or in spirit. See if my guitar is anything resembling in tune. Page 24, the Baruch Hu. These words aren't exactly there, but they're super simple, and I do them every time we have Friday night services. So if you've been here, you've probably heard it before. Barechu, you can repeat after me. Barechu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Barechu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Barechu et Adonai Amevorach. Baruch Adonai Amvorach Leolam Va'ed. Please have a seat. Page 27. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Well, actually, I was going to go with the one on the bottom. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? El chai v'kayam, tamim yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hamari v'haravi. On the next page, the song of love, eternal love. Avat olam bet Yisrael amchavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Nalken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu v'kumeinu נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. Page 30. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha Bechol levavcha Ubechol nafshecha Ubechol meodecha Ve'ayu advarim ha'ele אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמן. Page 35. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, and that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. And people saying, notice as they left Egypt and embarking into the desert, they sang, page 36, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, norat tehilot אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים, לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Please rise. No, we don't rise yet. Sorry. Hashkivenu. So I'm so used to doing morning services that I'm like, we're right on to the next thing, but no, we have. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Ve'amidenu malkeinu lechaim. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו, ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים. Okay, now we can stand for Vishamru on page 40. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים השמיים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We remain standing as we go into our Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftach. Oh, page 130. I'm sorry, it's not the next page in your book. Page 130. And we'll go and do the Amidah. We will do just the first of the blessing. We'll do the song before and the first of the blessings together. And then we will continue the Amidah silently, this time following directions for a Shabbat evening service. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi yagid teilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, הגיבור לעולם אדוני מחייב. משיב הרוח ומושיב את השם. Page 148. Prayer for peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov b'neicha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. Take this as a moment to think of people in our community in need of healing. The words are on page 175, if that's useful for you. So we'll do the first verse, I'll sing the first verse, and then I will read a list of names I have here, and please, if there's another name that I missed or that I didn't know about, that you are thinking of, we'll have an opportunity to say that. Folks at home on YouTube, you can chat. If you're with us in real time, you can put the name into the chat, and Mia will read it out for us. Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimoteinu. May the source of strength, who blessed the one before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Some of the people we're thinking of include Joyce Fox, Wendy Kleinfaller, Roy Lederman, Resabat Rivka, Rose Edelman, Judy Freed, Arvine Peckman, Janet Press, Jordan Montero, Jason Schwartz, Judith Lauro, Jason Moda, Lisa Bowman, David Gay, Lisa Diaz, Elsie Diaz, Mary McKenzie, Stacy Gay, Sora Batlea, Chavadina Batsora, Ted M. Gott, Jean Matulski, Doug Michaud, Sean Vilbat Label Vikela, Judy Ackerman, Aaron Curry, Chris Lombardi, Ken Feinberg, Deidre Reese, Matthew Stein, Kathy Hatch, Sue Delaney, John Raymond, Haj Ibrahim Abulahawa, Matt Siegel, Gabrielle Maya, Elliot Becker, Shalom Meir Ben Beryl Vester, Scott Rotsky, Beryl Eliezer Hirsch, Ben Yael Sara, Samantha Modis, Sima Bela Bat Esther, Elishira Yosefa Bat Gutul, Abigail Bat Ari, Ann Terry, Andrea Ullman, Ken Perry, Herbert Hill, Gail Chotner, Yosef Yachad bin Avraham Vesara, Reza Liba Bat Rachel, Roz Helfand. Other names. Take those names and all the names that are in our hearts that we maybe didn't say out loud, all those we're going to think about in a few minutes and go like, oh yes, them too. They're included in our prayer. Mi sheberachimotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We move to conclude our service with Aleinu on top of page 187. Please rise in body or in spirit. It is incumbent upon us to praise the source of everything. Aleinu leshabeach l'Adon hakol, latet gdula leotzeu breshit, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 189, let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. V'nema ve'aya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom ha'u yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo Echad. We remain standing as we turn to the Mourner's Kaddish on page 193. Some of the yard sites we are observing in our community today, this week. The Hebrew months are in sync with the secular months. So beginning with the 18th of Tevet, Samuel Sperling, Bessie Kudnovsky, Levi Goldstein, Abraham Raphael Siegel, Estefe Liederman, Thomas Fisher, Samuel Silverman, Sylvia Nathan, Ann Gordon, Lillian Siegel Davidson, Marilyn Rappaport, Edward Roth, Sybil T. Antine, Jules Jaffe, Robert Frank. Are there other names we should mention, either yard sites or people for whom they're still within the monthly earning? We're still within the Shloshim for Marion Levy. Page 193, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divrach hir'ute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol bet Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. זיכרונם לברכה, may their memory be for blessing. Do we have announcements? We have announcements. Please, Gordon, come on up.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
There's no school on Sunday.
And there is no
Lunch and learn on Monday.
right.
And the book club has been changed to the 27th.
Oh.
At 2 o'clock. That's the lunch and learn. Is there a queer study?
There is a queer. If people come to the queer Torah study group, then it will happen on Tuesday.
On Tuesday. Religious school 4 o'clock on Thursday. Next Shabbat, the 25th, services at 5:30. And we have the workshop, music workshop, the Sim Tegel at 12:30 at the Shabbat services. And we have the religious school on the 26th. At 9:30 we have the members' schmooze. Anything else that I forgot?
Yeah, well, there's one thing that wasn't on our calendar, but Monday night there is going to be a MLK celebration, celebrating the legacy of Dr. King down the street in the Baptist Church of All Nations. It's going to be, I believe, I want to say 6 o'clock. I think it's at 6 to 8. Yeah, and it'll be good to see some of you there. I wasn't aware of it till fairly recent. Thank you, Mia, for bringing it to my attention. I should let people know also, not this coming week, but the following week, I'm going to be away. I'll be here for Shabbos. I'll be here for the following Shabbos, but I'll be away during the week. I'll be on a meditation retreat. Assuming that it's in the LA area, so we're assuming it's actually going to happen with the Institute for Jewish Spirituality. Been accepted into the clergy leadership cohort, which is going to be a program I'm going to be doing for this year and next year. So there'll be 4 weeks that I'm going to be away during that, and so I'm sure I will have lots of rich material that I will be able to bring back you from there. Let's turn way back to page 20 and sing Shalom Aleichem to close up. Shalom Aleichem Malachei Asharet Malachei Elyon Malchei Amlachim Akadosh Baruch Hu Boachem leShalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Amlachim Akadosh Baruch Hu Baruchuni leShalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim Akadosh Baruch Hu Tzedchem leShalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Shabbat Shalom. Goodbye to people at home. We have a wonderful, blessed, restful Shabbat, and we're going to go downstairs and have some Kiddush and complete our service that way.